Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that are releasing this week on Wednesday to your local comic book store or over at infinityflux.net, where you can go there right now and order these books. They're live. That way you don't have to worry about them selling out. They will be prepared for you and loved and kissed and everything. We
Get the picture for that.
we mail them with love.
Yeah.
No, but it's really important that you go ahead and order those if there's something you really, really want and you're worried that, oh no, this is a big book and I bet they're going to sell out. You can go ahead and order it so you don't have to worry about that.
That's right.
And that is at infinityflux.net. But this is a really cool week of books. Maybe not as big as some of the previous ones, but definitely some big books coming out in this week. And it was kind of nice to have maybe not just bombarded with 20-something books each to read. This was like I like this. This is
a little more manageable.
This is more manageable, and maybe that'll be more manageable for you when you go to your comic book store or infinityflux.net. But the one we're going to kick it off with is one that you definitely need to be picking up.
Yes, we are going to talk about Captain America #1. This is all we're going to talk about the whole show. No, and we'll just show the other ones at the end. No. So, Captain America #1, this was announced a few months ago, and I have been over the moon excited waiting for this. This is written by none other than Chip Zdarsky, the artist by Valerio Schiti, and I'll go ahead and tell you, I loved it. I loved it. It's my pick of the week. Now, this first story arc, I don't know about the whole series, but this first story arc anyway, and it's called Our Secret Wars Part 1. And I actually got a few questions about that too on a video I posted on my TikTok about Secret Wars. What does this have to do with Secret Wars? This has zero to do with Secret Wars.
It's just a fun.
It's just a clever title. That's all it is. Don't think it's a Secret Wars thing. But at least this first story arc of this series is it takes place about a week or two after Captain America first woke up from the ice. So he is not part of the Avengers yet. He doesn't know that Tony Stark is Iron Man. He's never talked to Reed Richards. He doesn't know what the United Nations is because it was formed while he was still frozen. So he's still new to this world. So it takes place a little bit in the past, not like all the way in the past like World War II, but a little in
I feel like
past.
It's almost like how DC has like whatever time frame Batman Superman World's Finest is.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Just it's in the past. It doesn't look that different.
Right, the not too distant
past. Yeah.
So a lot of this book is about Steve becoming acclimated to this new world that he woke up in. There's only really one big action sequence in this.
It's a good one though.
It's a good one though. There's this veteran who is going to bomb the UN, and Captain America has to stop him. And there's this really cool chase scene where he chases down the bomber, and then the way that he stops the bomber from bombing the UN is very Steve Rogers, very Captain America, very very well done. And then the rest of the issue goes back and forth between two different stories. The main story again shows Steve getting acclimated to this new world that he has woken up in. He is approached by General Thunderbolt Ross about a man named Victor Von Doom who has recently taken over Latveria. So again, the not too distant past. And Doom has destroyed the U.S. embassy there, and he has taken some of the diplomats there prisoner. And so Captain America's mission is going to be to sneak into Latveria and rescue them. So that's, and a lot of the book is a setup for that mission. The other story in this book, again, it goes back and forth. The other story is about a young man named David Colton. And I'm actually not going to tell you much about that at all because it would spoil a very surprising ending. One that I had no idea. Like, I was like, what?
As you're reading it, you're kind of trying to, like, what are they doing here?
I was like, what is this? Yeah, why is this here? And then you get to the very last page and you're like, oh, what is that all about? So... So I'm not going to tell you anything about David Cole. I will say that we don't know who this character is. Like, he's a new character. And he does have a very familiar story, too. And you'll see that as you read through the book. And I'm going to leave it at that. But, so I love this. Like I said, a lot of the issue is just planning or setup for the story to come. Captain America does get that stealth suit that we saw in the design images. It's kind of like a little bit, it's a little bit darker tones, that kind of thing, because it's a stealth mission, right? And it's really cool. And a lot of the issue also is just being with Steve as he learns about this stuff. And even though there's not a lot of action in this, it's written so well, and it has like such great characterization of Steve Rogers that you just want to just read along with him. I wonder what he's doing today. I wonder what he's learning today. That kind of thing.
I was gonna say that was my favorite part of it is almost kind of how like he's Marvel's Superman. It's like
Yes.
the way he approaches a situation is not how do we beat it into submission. It comes from a place of kindness and everything,
Yeah.
which is really like what I think is really important about Captain America is to be the heart of the Avengers, to be the the moral like thing that everyone should look to.
Yeah.
That's what Captain America is in this, and I love that part about it. Um, yeah, the art is phenomenal in this, and I do really like the setting. That it feels kind of, even though it's set in the past, it does still feel fresh to be like we haven't
Yeah.
been here in a while. So to hear, like what the like you said, like Iron Man, like this is kind of the time frame where Iron Man was considered Tony Stark's butler,
Bodyguard.
yeah, and stuff like that. Like it's just fun,
Mhm.
and it does address that like Captain America doesn't know the Avengers.
Right.
What he knows is the military that he left behind. That's still kind of his family.
Yeah.
And so why does he go on this mission? Because that's the home he knows that's still around. And I just all the characterization stuff in this for him is so spot on that it's no surprise that like Chip Zdarsky wrote one of the best Daredevil runs in recent history. I feel like we're about to see that with Captain America if he's allowed to stay on it for a good amount of time, because he's got the key down, which is the character.
That's right.
You can do whatever with the story as long as the character stays pure and true to who they are.
Yeah, Captain America is my third favorite Marvel hero, but it's been several years since we've had a Captain America book that I've really enjoyed. I didn't like the last run at all. It didn't feel like Captain America. He was fighting demons that were possessing other people. That didn't feel like Captain America. This feels like Captain America. It's very grounded. It's very America based. Hey, we need you to go and rescue our American diplomats and that kind of thing. He's learning about how America has changed in the years that he's been asleep. Like, this is the Captain America book I have wanted for years. Hopefully the rest of the series is as good as this, but all we can do is one issue at a time. And so far they are off to an amazing start with this new Captain America book. I can't wait.
And perfect jumping on point. You don't have to have read any of the previous stuff. It's back to basics in the best way. It still feels fresh and new, but it is back to, hey, if you don't know what's gone on with Captain America for the past, I don't know how many years in Dimension X, and then all of this stuff, and the Hell Hydra cap, all that, don't worry about that. This is back to just the pure, ground zero Captain America.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, somebody did ask, do I need to know? They said I'm fairly new to comics and I don't know much about Captain America. Will I be lost? I said no. This is perfect for a new reader, or if you haven't read Captain America for a long time. Like, this is the book for you because it doesn't have any baggage. Like, he just woke up from the ice a week ago, right? So I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait for more. So there's our A cover.
Is that a Alex Ross cover?
It is not. I don't remember.
Safara or something like that.
I don't remember who it is, but it's really cool.
It's a really nice, very iconic A cover.
I could probably find out real quick because now I want to know. It is. Oh shoot! Yeah, hold on. No, come on.
It is.
Ben Harvey.
Ben Harvey.
Yes, Ben Harvey is the artist on that. So A cover there. We've got some great variants too. This is the Villa-Lobos variant.
It took me a minute to figure out he's jumping backwards out of a plane.
Right. Yeah. He's
kind
like
of leaning back out of it.
This is your Frank Miller variant. This is the Vecchio homage variant, and we'll see what it's homaging in a minute. This is our blank sketch variant.
Super zoomed in on the star
right.
shield.
This is the Chip Zdarsky variant, so he actually drew a cover for the book that he wrote. This is your Marvel Rivals variant.
Marvel Rivals.
I always want to say Marvel Rivals or something like that. This is your Nick Bradshaw Retrovision variant. We have this 1 in 10 Valerio Schiti design variant that we're selling for $7.99. Did we mention the artwork in this was fantastic?
Yeah,
Because it
the
was.
artwork is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's great.
There is a scene that involves Cap and a motorcycle.
Yep.
There's some preview pages out there for it, but it looks phenomenal.
This is the 1 in 25 Valerio Schiti variant that we're selling for $14.99, and the book more or less looks like that on the inside too. It's great. And then we have this 1 in 50 John Romita Jr. variant that we're selling for $34.99. And then this is the John Romita Sr. variant. This is the bicentennial calendar image, and that's what that other one was homaging. And we're selling this one for $49.99. Cannot say enough good things about this.
Yeah, we don't, not necessarily maybe all of Marvel's books do something like this, but it is so nice to get something that's like, hey, let's like peel back the layers and get to the core of the character and what they're all about and what they do, and make it very like, hey, new and old fans alike can enjoy this.
Yeah, and I like to see in Captain America slinging shields in my Captain America book, and he doesn't really do that more than once in this. I didn't mind. I was just having such a great time, just like reading Steve Rogers. Like I didn't care. It's so good.
Well, first up for me is the first issue of a weekly series DC is going to be doing. Gotham City Sirens, Unfit for Orbit. I guess it's going to be, I think it's 5 issues.
I think so, yeah.
And they did a similar thing, I think, last year with a miniseries. That's the one where it had to do with like crazy cyborg cows and all this stuff. You could expect outlandish things from a Gotham City Sirens book. This is by Leah Williams, who did the previous one. The art in this is by Haining, which it looks really, really good. And what's funny is on our Comics in the Future show, as we've been talking about it, we've almost talked about every issue of it. And just now the first issue's coming out. So the time to get on this is now, because, this is a train that's already moving. And this is really fun. So this is, it starts out in, I don't want to say how it happens, but Selena Kyle, Catwoman, breaks into Harley's house. Maybe because Harley just wasn't answering the door. But it's really fun because Selena needs Harley's help because there's a artifact that she wants to steal from a new nightclub that has opened up in Gotham. It's called the Lunaria Club. It's all space themed. And we don't know a whole lot about what this artifact that Selena's after is. They do say it's called the... what's this? I forgot what it's called. It's just kind of a generic name for a thing. But she basically needs Harley, and she's like, I need someone who can make a big distraction. And Harley's like, you've come to the right place. I can make a big distraction. But also I want to get Ivy involved in this. So that's how you get your classic team together of the Gotham City Sirens. And they are going into this club, and of course they have to get dressed up for it because it's space themed. They've got their mission. You've got the whole like planning the mission, everything. They know exactly where this artifact is. But of course they're going in there, and it's not going to work out like they thought. From them getting distracted while they're in there to actually finding out what the artifact is another big thing. And it's not a spoiler to say, because it's in the solicitation, that the owner of this nightclub might be a very classic Justice League villain. And you'll have to see how all of that works together. But there's maybe a little bit more truth to this space-themed hotel or club than just, the wallpaper. Mm-hmm. So this is a really fun book. This is all about, like, not comedy, but with these characters, it's outrageous, it's over the top. I did want to say that what is interesting about this, it is rated a teen 13 plus book. I would maybe bump this up to like a 16 plus book. There's some pretty, I guess if you know the Harley Quinn TV show, the cartoon, it's maybe more in line with that.
It doesn't go that far. I don't think. There's no language and stuff.
No, the language isn't like that. But like kind of the suggestive, the innuendo, that kind of stuff is a little bit more than what you expect from a regular DC book, which works with these characters. But I would not get this for, you know,
A
a
13-year-old,
13-year
no.
old. No. But if you're looking for something that maybe is a little bit closer to like the Harley Quinn animated show, not quite there, but almost there, you'll want to pick this one up because it is a lot of fun. It is very zany. It's very over the top. It's very reckless and all of that, and it's a lot of fun. Like I said, the art is great in this, and I'm looking forward to. I like having a weekly book. I don't
Yeah,
want every
I
book
like
to be
weekly books,
weekly,
yeah.
but I do like to have, it'll keep the story fresh in my mind as it goes on and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And so I do recommend this one. I think it's a lot of fun. I love these characters, especially when they're together. And yeah, you don't have to be reading any of these characters' individual titles because Selena does bring up in this that she's kind of a fugitive and
Mm.
people are looking for her, but she gives a reason why it's not going to be a problem in this. It kind of brings in some of their elements, so it is connected, but not in a way that is confusing at all. But really, really fun. I recommend it. We've got this great Terry Dodson A cover. We have this is the Kyung Edom variant, which I believe is an artist that's been doing some variants for Poison Ivy lately. We've got a Nubavitch variant, and these are really nice. They did with these. These are the last ones, but these are great. These Gilliam March connecting
Mm-hmm.
variants. So you can expect one of these from all of them, starting with Catwoman, and there
I like
is
that one.
a foil version of that one as well. Plus, we have a 1 in. This is the 1 in 25 Helen Mask variant. We're selling for $19.99.
Okay, next up, I've got Godzilla versus Thor. This is the last of the Godzilla versus books. Godzilla versus Hero, before we get
Fill
into
in
the
blank.
before we get into the Godzilla destroys the Marvel universe, which is coming real soon. So this is written by Jason Aaron. Jason Aaron back on Thor. The art is by Aaron Cooter. And I love this. This is, I think, my favorite of all of them, or maybe it's neck and neck with the Hulk one. But this was fantastic. So these books are not in continuity, but this one does reference some things that have happened in the main continuity, like the Punisher leading the Hand, and some of the villains that Thor has faced throughout the
Kind of
years.
all of Jason Aaron's stuff
Pretty
he's
much,
written.
yeah. You do not need to know any of that stuff though,
Yeah.
because it's just a mention. It does not drive the story. Well, I guess there's one thing, but you can still read this on its own if you want. So in this, the Hand resurrects Godzilla and it starts rampaging through Tokyo. And I remember when we talked about this on Comics from the Future, we were like, "Whoa, the Hand is involved in a book that also has Thor." You don't see that much. And the Hand isn't. They don't do a lot. They're there simply to resurrect Thor. Or I'm sorry, to resurrect Godzilla. And to they don't really like get too involved too much. And of course, so they resurrect Godzilla. It starts rampaging through Tokyo, as Godzilla does, and Thor arrives to fight it. And after a big battle, Thor does manage to defeat Godzilla. That's not a spoiler, because that's only the first half of the issue. And after that, things get even crazier. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but it is on the level of epicness that Jason Aaron's Thor run was on. Like, this is nothing but like big, huge fights, Thor calling down lightning, making big, like, grand speeches, throwing Mjolnir, like creating storms and all that kind of stuff. Like, this is just like a big action-packed book between Thor and Godzilla, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as the book goes on, and then has a really good ending too. So I really like this. You can pick this up and read it without having to know anything else about anything else, and just have a good time with it. Yeah, so I recommend it if you've been picking these up or maybe looking at them. In my opinion, this is the best one.
Wow.
Or maybe the Hulk one is in line with it too, because the Hulk one did something cool too. But yeah, this one I loved it. So there's your A cover right there, and we have a few variants. We have the Lee Garbett variant. They've done one of these for all the different books. This is our Guidry variant. This is the EM Gist variant. None of these characters. Oh, these are all the other characters that have been in all the other Godzilla books, but none of them are in this one.
Except for Thor.
Except for Thor, right. This is the Nick Bradshaw variant. This is the awesome Walt Simonson variant. Walt Simonson back on Thor.
That giant knee pad.
Yep. I always wonder how he can walk with those. I really like this one. I hope this is the one I pre-ordered, but it may not be. This is the foil Mark Bagley variant. That's super nice. And then we have this 1 in 25 Clayton Crane variant that we're selling for $24.99. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with how much fun this was.
Well, for me, it's time for Absolute Green Lantern number 4. This is a big issue. It's not the most action-packed issue or anything, even though it does kind of start off really cool as the Black Hand starts to really take over Hal in a pretty horrifying way.
We see Hal in a way that we've never seen him before.
Yeah. But what most of this issue is a little bit of a flashback, but leading all the way up to basically how we saw this story in issue 1. When we were introduced to it, we had a lot of questions of like, this giant Green Lantern symbol has crashed on the city and people are reporting about it. And, what's happened? We do lead up to that point in this, which I think makes it really cool to kind of round it all back around. But in this, we have Joe Mullen and a couple of the people who live in the town all sitting around in the bar, and they start discussing like the other people in the town, and they're like, "Hey, when we said they were all like sheltering in place and hiding, I went like looking around, no one's here."
Yeah.
And so it turns out maybe this this judgment that Abin Sur's been doing, he's been doing it more than they realize.
Right.
And there's not too many people left in the town. And Joe's basically had enough of this. Because I figure she's basically like, he's either going to do that to us or not.
Yeah.
And I don't really care at this point. I'm going to go call out Abin Sur. And so she marches out into the street and basically just like yells for him. And Abin Sur appears. And she lays into him about like, what are you doing with all of this, judgment, and if people are worthy or whatever, and disintegrating them and all that. And let's just say that Abin Sur is a little confused by her questions, and maybe clarify some things and paints what's going on maybe in a different light. There is some very interesting nods and stuff to other familiar Green Lantern things, some names and some locations and everything that looks like, oh, I see where this may be going. We also find out back like when we started with issue 1, Joe had a ring. What is that all about? Because they haven't even really talked about rings or anything.
Abin Sur doesn't have a ring. He still has like constructs and force fields and stuff, but he's never like, so it's like, where'd this ring come from?
So let's just say you do learn a bit more about that and how it all comes about, and it is very, very interesting. And also, we'll say that there is a new familiar face that appears, but maybe not a very friendly one. And I think that's maybe where I'm not sure like if this story arc is going to be like 5 or 6 issues or whatever, but it looks like that's probably going to be the very next, or at least something they're leading to with the end of this, which I think is really cool because this story that's been very centralized in this town is now like, oh, this is going to start expanding now. Now that, the world is very aware of what's going on. Let's see where we go. So this was an awesome issue. I still really, really enjoy this series. It's one of my favorite ones of the Absolute books because I think it is so different. This also just has so many mysteries and hints to things, and we don't quite know where every character is at this point. I thought this was really fun. Plus, I just love this weird Dragon Ball Z version of Abin Sur. He's just really, really cool. And I'm looking forward to learning more about maybe where he comes from and are there more like him. So this is your A cover for that. We also have this Ekman Lawn variant with Hal Jordan. There's also in the very beginning, like how they've done previously, where you see just like a black panel with a white ring on it, and
I don't know.
Something else happens with that that's very also like, wait, What are they alluding to? We have a NECA variant. Everybody just likes doing Hal Jordan's face.
Yeah.
And we have a 1 in 25 Malavia variant. We're selling for $14.99. And then we have a Virgin version of that one cover. Now is a 1 in 50 for $24.99.
All right, next up, I've got Daredevil number 23, and I want to talk about this one because I'm pretty sure this series is getting canceled with number 25. So we're near the end, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about this one because it's really good, and I have no idea why the cover is like this because this fungus guy, this story with this weird fungus guy, that storyline ended last issue. The solicitation for this issue even mentions there's a fungus growing through New York City. That whole thing is ended. So if you're like, I don't really want to read a story about a weird fungus guy, that's not what this is. What this book is about there's this new French crime syndicate in Hell's Kitchen called Nouvelle Direction. And Daredevil kind of meddles in their business a little bit, so they hire Taskmaster to take him out. They hired Taskmaster to take out Daredevil. Yeah, and the entire second half of this issue is Daredevil fighting Taskmaster, which is awesome. And this is also more or less a one and done issue. The fight with Taskmaster finishes here. It's not going to continue on into the next issue. It's just a really cool. This feels like an old school issue of Daredevil where just like a bad guy shows up and Daredevil fights him. And there's amazing artwork in this. Like everything about this is great. So I don't know why Marvel did this with this cover because this doesn't represent what's inside the book at all. This is actually a really cool fight with Daredevil and Taskmaster. And Daredevil talks about how Taskmaster, oh, you're using this fighting style or you're using this from this other character because that's what Taskmaster does. So it's just a really awesome, just one and done Daredevil story that you can pick up and read, and you don't even have to know about anything that came out in the previous in all the previous issues of Daredevil. Like it's just its own thing, and it's really really good. So I just wanted to talk about it because I liked it so much, and
the art is really really good.
The art is really good, and I just wanted to talk about it because it is good, and there's just a lot of bad information out there about it. So I just want to let you know what it really is.
Yeah, like the solicitation being off, the
cover's being off. Yeah.
Who knows what happened there?
Yeah. And this is our only cover as well. I wish there was one with Taskmaster, but this is the only one we have.
That's not Mushroom Taskmaster.
Right.
Well, next up for me, this one is really exciting because one of the Ghost Machine books is Hyde Street. So this is set in Hyde Street. This is a Sisterhood, a Hyde Street story. And this is almost like your, what was the one about the eating?
Devour.
Yeah. It's a little bit like Devour, but this is actually going to be a 5-issue miniseries. This is by Maytal Shute, and the art is by Layla Lees. And this is kind of telling us about another one of the citizens or whatever you want to call them that live on Hyde Street that are part of this big game going on there. But in this, we meet Sophie and Violet, and they are childhood best friends. They go to the lake together, and they're like in like elementary school, middle school, or something. But they are brought even closer together when Sophie's mom basically dies right there in front of them. And so you can tell this kind of they've created their own family or a sisterhood as they get older. And we pick up with them in college, and whereas Sophie is a bit more of like an academic, she's really concerned about her grades and her GPA and all that kind of stuff. Violet is like, I want to get into a sorority. She's like right on the cusp of getting accepted. She's in like rush week and everything for that, and that's kind of not. They do a good job at showing like this didn't drive a wedge between their friendship. It's just that they're going different directions in life. They still love each other. They're still each other's best friend, all of that, but they do have different aspirations in life. And Violet really wants Sophie. She's like, maybe I can get you in last minute to the sorority. And they're like, no, that doesn't sound like something for me. But we do find out, and we see, and it's not a spoiler because it's in the station's on one of the covers. This sorority, of course, it kind of plays into the trope of they make you do some pretty terrible things, and an accident happens, even though very preventable accident, and Violet ends up dying. She drowns in the pool, and Sophie is so torn up about this, and she blames the sorority. She blames the girl who's the head of the sorority, and I don't even know if she really knows what she's doing, but she goes out on the town and apparently winds up on Hyde Street, which is how a lot of people end up there, where she comes to the kind of fortune telling or tarot card reading place of Sisterhood. That's the character's title, and might have a way that she can communicate with her best friend that has died, but maybe it's kind of a monkey's paw thing. You think it's something good, but it's gonna be in its own twisted way.
Yeah, the solicitation says, on Hyde Street, everything has a cost.
Yeah, and so the solicitation basically told you that this entire first issue, but it is really well done. You really do care about these two girls that are best friends. They do a great job building up their friendship, and just you also feel that rage against the sisterhood and everything. And this is just the first issue. This is going to be a 5-issue miniseries, unlike a lot of Hyde Street stuff where like Devour is one issue, or we'll get some of the single issues that are one things. I'm really interested to see how this plays out for 5 issues.
Right.
Because I could see this even being 2 or 3, but 5 is like, okay, this is gonna grow and get bigger than just what we see here. Layla Lee's art in this is phenomenal. I love that part of it. And yeah, if you haven't read Hyde Street, this is still very much like almost picking up a creep show or
right.
one of those kind of anthology, just that it's going to be a mini series. But it's set in that same universe, but it's a standalone story as well. So highly recommend this one. I thought it was a lot of fun. And once again, just everything that Ghost Machine putting out is quality, fantastic work, and I can't wait to see what happens in this one. So that is your A cover with Sisterhood on there. Very creepy lady. We also have a Ivan Rice variant. And just like in Devour, I imagine we'll see Sisterhood show up in the regular Hyde Street
I'm sure, yeah.
at some point.
She's just one of the people on the scoreboard.
Yeah. And
probably.
I can't wait to just learn about all of them because there's so many interesting ones and ones that were there before that aren't there anymore. We also have this, which kind of gives away like part of the story, but this is the Snejberg variant, and that's kind of part of this issue. And then there is also a 1 in 20 Raymond Gay variant that we're selling for $19.99, which is also very, very creepy. So yeah, just another really cool, even if it wasn't tied to Hyde Street, a great horror miniseries.
Oh yeah, it was great. If you like Hyde Street, you're definitely gonna like that for sure. All right, next I've got Wolverines plural and Deadpools plural #1. This is written by Cody Ziegler and the art is by Roge Antonio. And this issue starts in a small village outside Simcaria, which I was hoping we'd get to see Silver Sable, but no luck. But there are 2 parents there trying to board up their house so that the shadows don't break in and steal their children, which apparently is something that's been happening around that area lately. They mentioned that the shadows will come and steal your children, and like it's pretty terrifying, right? So Deadpool's mercenary company from the previous run that he set up with his daughter Ellie and Taskmaster, they get a request to come out there and help find the children. So he and Ellie travel out there to investigate. But Deadpool also contacts Logan and Laura Kinney to come help them as well because they're really good trackers. Plus, Deadpool's a big goofball and he loves team ups, because he knows he's in a comic, so he loves teaming up with Wolverine. And when they get there, they're kind of investigating everything, and Logan and Deadpool venture out into the forest where they encounter an old foe of Deadpool's, And meanwhile, Laura and Ellie stay back at the village where they encounter another well known villain. And it turns out that both of those villains are working for another well known X-Men villain who is the one behind all the missing children. Why does that character want the children? You'll have to read it to find out, although it does make sense for that character. So yeah, I mean, it's a really, really cool idea. It's just, and I wrote down, there is just a lot of dialogue, and there's not a whole lot of action in this until the end. And I made a note that says, this is a great example of why I don't really like reading Deadpool comics, because it's just so much like goofy chatter that doesn't really, push the story forward all that much. But if you're a Deadpool fan or a Wolverine fan, you're definitely going to like this. I really like the art. Roger Antonio's artwork is really, really good.
Yeah,
I believe
it looks
he did
really
the
nice.
I believe he did the artwork in the previous run and maybe the run before that as well. So artwork wise, it's really cool. And I like the villains that showed up and all the fight there. But it's just getting there. It's just like, oh my gosh, Deadpool, shut up. That's his whole shtick though. So Deadpool fans are definitely going to like this. And I don't know if this is an ongoing or a miniseries, but this will definitely run for several issues at least because there's a lot of story there to tell. So this is our A cover. And we've got a couple variants. This is the Clark variant. And this is the DeVito Retrovision variant.
Next up, I've got our next Bring on the Bad Guys. This is Bring on the Bad Guys, Green Goblin #1. So this is by Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan with art by Matteo Delafonte. And this one is a little bit different than, like our Doctor Doom one we got, because this is actually set years in the past. And we see Norman Osborn, who it's hard to exactly tell when this takes place, if he's only recently become Green Goblin or
Well, at the very beginning, he hasn't yet, because in the very beginning, Harry is a young boy.
Yeah.
And I don't think
the
Norman.
very beginning.
Yeah, at the very beginning, and Norman is not a big successful businessman yet. But then later in the book, I think that it actually takes place like in the early days of what we know as the Marvel Universe, because Spider-Man is still very new on the scene.
Yeah.
The Fantastic Four is still very new on the scene. I think it's right after he became Green Goblin,
Yeah.
because that happened in the early days of Spider-Man too.
Right, and so in this, we see that like Norman's business is floundering a little bit. His home life, everything, is not necessarily the Norman Osborn that you know of, like this very confident, successful man. And we find out that maybe he makes a deal with a certain Mephisto. And we don't, I don't think we hear exactly like what is the we don't hear him say like I want to be rich and successful. I think it's just kind of implied.
Well, Norman never really says what he wants, but at the beginning, Mephisto says, you'll soon see fortune. Both in I guess monetarily and also just like success.
Right. But Mephisto, of course, it comes with a price, and we kind of know this from the previous issue about what the cost of this is, because this is all about souls and the soul forge and taking souls. And so Mephisto has a basically like you complete this part of the contract and your greatest wishes or whatever. And so Goblin has to go and get a soul in a very horrific way, and it's very creepy to watch him kind of like scoping someone out.
Yeah.
It's very kind of disturbing if he watches someone and their family and everything.
Well, it's cool because, we're used to seeing Green Goblin on his Goblin glider, flying around, throwing pumpkin bombs at Spider-Man and cackling and that kind of thing. But the way that Green Goblin is supposed to get this soul is using one of those soul daggers that we saw in last issue. So he actually has to, like, get close to the person. Yeah. So it is kind of a little bit different because you see, like, he's still kind of like cackling to himself, but he's very like you're right. He's like stalking and hiding in shadows and stuff. It's pretty creepy.
It's very creepy. And of course, that's not the only thing that he has promised Mephisto. And I do think this is interesting that this kind of adds to the lore of the whole Spider-Man universe.
Right.
That like maybe the reason why Green Goblin is such an unstoppable foe and everything is because of this deal that was made in the past. Maybe some people won't like that it's...
Well, I agree. That does add something that cool to the Green Goblin mythos, but I'm not sure that these books are really in continuity in the first place.
Yeah, they're just kind of the
So
hazy
yeah,
continuity of maybe this happened, maybe this didn't.
yeah,
But I wouldn't say this is the Bring on the Bad Guys universe or
yeah. This
whatever.
oh,
Whatever.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not like a separate unit, but it's just like it's just its own story, kind of like how Dark Ages was its own story, or Wolverine Revenge was its own story. We're just telling a story. We don't
yeah,
really care if it interferes with anything else. But this also isn't like Green Goblin Secret Origin, where it's like this is the official
yeah.
new origin of Green Goblin. It's not. It's in that sort of gray area there.
Yeah, so it is a very, I would say, kind of a darker, more sinister issue than like the
Mm,
Doctor Doom one was. But I did think it was really interesting. The art was cool, and yeah, for something that we didn't really know what this Bring on the Bad Guys thing was going to be all about. I'm really digging it. Like, I'm
yeah.
really interested to see how all of these pieces weave together. The other big thing in this is there is a backup story that starts in this one that is the secret origin of Sister Sorrow, and that's really interesting as well when we find out exactly when all of this
Right. Right.
started.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe not what you think. It maybe goes further back than you anticipate. And so that was just a couple of pages, but I'm looking forward to seeing that story unfold as well. And that one is by Mark Guggenheim and
Michael
Michael
Stahl,
Stahl
Maria.
Maria.
Yeah.
And let's say Mephisto in that very cool looking classic
Yeah.
Mephisto
Yeah.
that I was really happy to see. But yeah, if you enjoyed the Doctor Doom one, I think if you like that, you'll be on this ride because
Mm.
I think this is going to be really cool all the way through. The next one is Abomination.
Yep.
We're getting Dormammu, we're getting
Red Skull.
Red Skull. Loki, I think, is the one after Abomination. So yeah, this is going to be really, really cool to see kind of how all of this plays into the story that was set
Yeah.
up in the Doctor Doom one. But all that being said, here is your A cover, which is really fun. I like how it's the villain, and then you see the hands of
Yeah.
the character because the first one was Ben Grimm's
Yeah. Right.
fists, and I think the Loki's has like
And
Mjolnir in it.
don't be confused by the cover. Green Goblin doesn't fight Spider-Man. Spider-Man's like in one panel
He,
outside of a window,
he like
but
swings by, and it's
yeah.
like, oh yeah,
This is a Green Goblin story.
yeah. So there is your A cover by Libramejo. We also have this Mercado variant. They're doing ones like this for all of them. We've got our um, Derek Chu Sister Sorrow variant, which I think there's one of these for each issue of a different kind of version of her. We have a Aaron Cooter variant. We have a Todd Knock Icon variant, I think is what they're called, or Iconic variant.
Yeah.
And then we also have this 1 in 25 Greg Land variant we're selling for $24.99.
All right, next I've got X-Men Hellfire Vigil #1. This is a one-shot that features a whole bunch of different writers and artists from all of the various recent X-related books. I will say this is $7.99, but it's 64 pages, so it's pretty thick.
And it's a lot of reading.
It's a lot of reading. So there's no action in this. I'll just go ahead and tell you that. Not that everything has to have action, but I do like to tell you when there is or isn't. This is a lot of talking basically. So there is a Hellfire Vigil that's being held in various cities, most notably New York City and Chicago, to commemorate the loss of Krakoa a year ago. And basically all mutants from it all over are coming to one of these vigils to just sort of remember what they had on Krakoa.
And they have like gates set up where
Right.
people can like visit one to the other.
Yeah.
And all that.
And so this book, it doesn't really stay with one group of characters. It jumps between different groups of characters from all of the different X books, like X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Force, NYX, Exceptional X-Men, Phoenix, Storm. So basically think about the characters in all those different books, and this book jumps between all of those different groups of characters. And some of them are there together, some of them are doing their own thing, but it sort of jumps between all those different groups of characters, just showing how they're remembering Krakoa and what they're doing and things like that. Um, so it's not a lot of big story, just kind of shows what everybody's doing. However, near the end, there is one pretty major thing, and it's the first appearance of a new character. And I'm not going to tell you anything about it other than it does have something to do with Storm. So if you're a big fan of Storm, if you're reading the current Storm book and loving that, you may be interested in this book for that reason. And the only real setup for an upcoming story happens at the end that involves 3K, which is the group that the X-Men have been dealing with in the X-Men run, the Jed McKay X-Men book. There is at the very, very end, there is a little bit of something, a little bit of a seed planted for an upcoming story, possibly with them. And I don't know how big that may get or whatever. But, 60 out of the 64 pages are basically just like, focusing on different groups of mutants as they remember Krakoa.
Yeah, I would say this is the more X-Men books you are reading, the more you'll be invested in this
Yeah.
because like this even touches on Astonishing X-Men, the Marvel digital comic
Right,
that involves
yeah.
Banshee and all of that. That is a page or two in here. Like you said, it does jump around. So you may run into characters you don't even know if you're not reading.
Yeah.
Because it involves a lot of like the new characters in it
Yeah.
as well. So there was moments in this I was like, oh, I'm really into this, and some I was like, I don't really know who these people are.
Yeah.
I think there's parts with Cyclops and Phoenix that I think are maybe some of the highlights of this.
Yeah.
I think Cyclops or Scott's opinions on Krakoa and everything are very interesting.
Yeah.
Kamala plays a big part in this, which is interesting. They're really pushing Kamala right now.
Well, she was only in the first few pages.
Yeah, but she's kind of your intro into
Right,
this. You're
yeah.
kind of following her into it. Once again, this is fun to like look in the background and just see every character that's involved and everything. But yeah, I would say the more you're invested in X-Men, the kind of bigger and more important this issue will feel to you.
Yeah, if you're wondering, this is not a good jumping on point for
No.
X-Men. If you haven't read X-Men in a long time, you're going to be really, really confused. But if you have read at least some of the most recent books that have come out since in the From the Ashes era, you'll know some of the characters and some of the situations and things like that. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that they're still doing the Hellfire thing, even though the Hellfire Gala and all that stuff is over. They're still bringing it back a little bit. So this is the A cover, and we have this Rose Besh variant. Emma Frost looks really nice. I think, is that her too? No, that's we were talking about that. That's Siren, isn't it?
No, I think
is that Emma Frost? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the Aka variant. Yeah, I think you're right. That's Emma Frost. And then we have the Manhanini variant. I like the colors on that one.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And, it's a little bit like the Hellfire Gala where you always want to see what the characters are dressed like. They each have their own kind of like really fashionable morning attire.
Right.
Next up, I've got another new #1. This is Gehenna Naked Aggression #1. This is a mini-series. I don't remember how many issues this is, like 3 to 5, something like that. This is by Patrick Kindleton and Maurizio Rosenweig. And this is really cool. So this is, you're kind of just thrown right into the middle of this.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to figure a way out of it. But all the while, it's very action-packed and cool. So we have our main character here, Gehenna, and I don't even know if they say her name in it. I don't know if anyone refers to her. I had to double-check and make sure that's her name from the solicitation for it. But in this, you are thrown right into the middle of her running through streets. She's got her gun. She's being chased by people. She's running over rooftops and through alleyways and burying herself like behind like sliding furniture in front of a door as these people are coming after her. And the art is really cool. This, I think, it's the artist that did the cover here, but it's very kinetic and fast and everything.
It looks good, yeah.
But slowly we kind of figure out what's going on as she runs into the son of a mob boss, and she kind of takes him hostage. But she even says, like in the caption, like, I'm not gonna hurt a kid, but I don't want him knowing that, nor the people chasing me.
Yeah. She's, I'll never hurt a child, but if they know that, then I have no leverage.
Yeah. And slowly we start getting some background to what her motivation is, and it has something to do with her family and getting caught up in some mob related situations, and now she's kind of either out for revenge or I can't tell because it seems like they're chasing her, but she should maybe be chasing them, or
Right.
maybe they're trying to
Yeah.
finish the job or something like that. But like the whole thing is basically them running and gunning and jumping and all that kind of stuff.
Lots and lots of action, lots of shooting,
Yeah.
lots of traversal from one building to another, that kind
Which
of
I
thing.
do like. I feel like you could almost map it out of like then they go
Yeah.
up the stairs and they're on the roof and then they jump over to this building and there's a part where they're in an alley and a car slams
Yeah.
into the wall and
So, it does show us why she's doing this in the first place, but what I want to know is like, how is she so good at this? Was she, or is she a mercenary? Like,
Yeah.
I don't, it doesn't explain like, how she's able to like
she's
be
so capable of all
yeah,
this.
and I like, I would. It's not because she's like a female or anything. It's just like I would want to know that of any character. Like she's just in it, and
Yeah.
and plus too, like the flashbacks and stuff that we get of her backstory, the way she is in those flashbacks does not equate to what she can do in the present. So like I just want to know
I
who
wonder
she
if we're
is.
gonna get like in the second issue we find out she was like if I'm gonna seek revenge I'm gonna go train.
Yeah, or
something.
was she already able to do this? Like I don't know.
Is she retired and comes back into action?
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna learn that as we go forward in the issues. But yeah, this is cool. I feel like this is kind of the marketing or the title or like some of the variants and stuff make you think it's going to be a little bit more adult than it is.
Yeah.
But really, it's more just like a big action set piece. And the backup where the writer talks about this, they're basically just like, we just want you to have fun reading a comic.
Yeah. And I did, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a very quick read. There's some more characters that come into it at the end that are maybe another, problem that Gehenna's going to run into at some point. But yeah, definitely a setup issue, just getting you into the vibe of the book and the kind of tempo of it. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool and a nice kind of change of pace. So we've got our A cover here, which I believe is your interior artist. We got a couple of variants. So we've got a Yamamoto variant. And this other character, this blonde girl, we do see, but we still don't know a whole lot about her. It's very like kind of into the book type thing. We have this one. This is the Ramtron variant. And she doesn't necessarily look like this. I feel like she looks a little bit older and everything. This I just think looks like the character Launch from Dragon Ball, which is still really cool, and I really like this cover. And that's what I was saying. Like there is this polybagged variant, and if you read even the normal book, there you can see what this cover looks like at the end. But what's in here is not in the book, which is kind of interesting. There's no kind of over the top graphicness or anything. So yeah, still really cool book, and I'm excited to read the second one to see exactly how the story expands and unfolds.
Yeah. Okay. I've got Ultimate Wolverine number 7. And as of the events of last issue, Logan has been freed from the Winter Soldier programming, and he's now with the opposition. But he's still wrestling with all the bad things that he did as the Winter Soldier, because he hurt a lot of people, And then so he's dealing with that at their base. Meanwhile, Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red are very mad at Dr. Prostovich, who is the one who's kind of overseeing the Winter Soldier program. But they're mad at her for losing the Winter Soldier, and they want to punish her very badly, but she tells them she thinks that she has a way to destroy the opposition once and for all, and that piques their interest. And the opposition gets information about this secret lab where Dr. Prostovich has been experimenting on mutants, and so they put a strike force together to rescue those mutants and destroy the lab. Now that doesn't actually happen in this. This is a very it is not really any action in this one. This is more of a like a relaxation or sort of a, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but Logan dealing with everything that he's done now that he's free of the programming, and them gearing up to go on this next mission, that kind of thing. But still really cool. Logan is actually speaking now. Like that was really neat to see.
Yeah, he's definitely been kind of broken from that.
Yeah.
That Winter Soldier programming seems like completely.
Yeah,
he's
I think
back to the one
Yeah. But it's still really cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing them go on that mission and what may happen there. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this Perillo variant. And we have a 1 in 25 Fabrizio D cover that we're selling. This 1 in 25 we're selling for $19.99.
Next up, I have another new number one. This is Illuminati, spelled Illuminati. So this is, I'm not sure if it's like idea or inspired by or whatever, but Charlemagne the God, the rapper musician, he writes a backup in this that kind of explains how much he loves comics and um, his ideas behind this and his kind of insider knowledge of the music industry and everything, which makes it really cool. Like he kind of like, is this real? I'll never tell, but it is. You know, everybody has their ideas of kind of the dark side of showbiz and all that. But the writing is by Brian Edward Hill, arts by Dennis Cowan, and the inks are by Bill Segovich. So it's like you've got some big names working on this. And in this, we follow Lily, and Lily gets the news that her sister, who was a very like up and coming pop star that had moved to L.A., has died of a drug overdose. And even Lily's like, she wouldn't even drink like, and people are like, well, you know, showbiz changes you, and she's still very like skeptical about all of this. They won't reveal like how she was found or anything like that. So Lily's already kind of she goes into it not liking LA or this business, and this doesn't help her thoughts about it. But soon she starts running into some people that knew her sister, um, some kind of management, that kind of thing, and it seems like there's for one, there's a guy who's basically like, well, she's gone, but she always talked about you're a really good musician. Do you want to come in? And Lily's like, this is weird. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here for this reason and all of that, and now you're. So she's very kind of creeped out by this whole industry. And that only gets worse and worse as she runs into more and more characters that maybe even have warnings for her about this whole thing. But it kind of alludes that maybe there's a darker, maybe even supernatural element going on here
Okay.
that is pretty cool. Like I really dug this issue. I like this like Illuminati, but based around like the music industry or just the whole entertainment industry. And there's some weird stuff that happens that makes you question, you know, if we're getting into a supernatural territory or is it just part of the weirdness of this whole situation.
And then Iron Man and Reed Richards and Professor X and Black Bolt were
Yeah,
there too, right?
yeah, that it seemed really out of place in this one.
Yeah, they're
but
talking about incursions, and then this pop star's like, "What are you talking about? Why am I here?"
yeah, this is just a subtle prelude to the Illuminati
Right.
and Marvel. No, but I thought this was really cool. And if you are a fan of Charlemagne the God, or you, you know, like this kind of like dark underbelly of the industry, I think you really like this. I thought it was really cool. The art was really cool. It was very fitting for this book. Had that very classic Bill Sienkiewicz like scratchy style that he's so well known for. Very cool. So yeah, I think this is just going to be a mini series. I'm not sure how many issues, but yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's still a very mature title, as you can imagine, but very cool. And just have the one cover for this.
All right, so next up we've got Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong #2 because we couldn't have just the one Godzilla. We needed the Godzilla to show up twice.
Yeah.
In this show. So at the end of last issue, the Justice League came face to face with Kong, and they tried to regain his trust since he did help them out in the previous series. But they don't have much luck because Kong has forgotten them. He's forgotten Supergirl because it's been a few years, right? So they give up on that. They say let's just leave him be for now, and instead they track down Lex Luthor and the Suicide Squad, and there is a big fight between the two groups. And again, this is all on the legendary Earth, the Earth where Godzilla and Kong and all the monsters are. So actually, not a lot of monsters in this because they're too busy fighting each other. Kong is really the only one. And so while they're fighting, Lex Luthor takes off to head to Hollow Earth, and Superman chases after him into Hollow Earth. where they both end up facing a bigger problem than what they were expecting. So maybe it's one of those things where maybe the enemies have to team up to take on a bigger threat, that kind of thing. But yeah, just the next issue, if you've been getting these, we want to let you know that the second issue is out. Oh, actually, there is a little bit of a monster on monster fighting. I'll say that, but it was pretty neat. So there is our A cover right there. We have this Yasmin Putri variant. And then this is the Alan Qua variant. That's a really nice one. I like the colors on that one too.
Next up, I'm going to talk about Amazing Spider-Man number 7. So this is, even though the last was considered kind of the first part of the Hellgate story, he didn't show up literally till like the last page of it. It was more of like Peter being like, my life's actually pretty good now. Oh wait, this guy shows up.
Yeah, you jinxed it.
Yeah, so most of this issue is Spider-Man fighting / running away from Hellgate. But just to get into it, Hellgate arrives, and it's not immediately fighting. Hellgate actually is looking for Spider-Man. And he speaks what Spider.
Is he though? Because he says he's looking for somebody called the Steel Silk.
Yeah.
Is that Spider-Man?
I just figured that was.
I mean, probably, but
yeah. But he's speaking like Spider-Man says, like a D&D character.
Right.
And Peter talks back to him in that kind of. He's like, "Hold up, Black Cat. I got this." And he starts being real goofy and everything. There's a lot of quippiness in this issue. But when Spider-Man basically tells Hellgate, like, hey, but we're like kind of caging this place. There's a robbery or something going on down here. I'll get back to you once we solve this. And Hellgate's like, I'll deal with it. And is pretty destructive where Spider-Man is like, whoa, like you can't go around doing that. And from this kind of tension, it escalates to the point of to them fighting each other, or mostly Spider-Man running from him, because Hellgate seems pretty unstoppable at this point. Hellgate also doesn't want anything to do with Black Cat, even though she's kind of there too, defending herself and Peter. But there's a lot of mystery set up in this one about who is Hellgate, where is he from. We also get someone else in this who definitely seems like they're maybe not from this world or this dimension. They're even speaking about like, oh well, this person's in my dimension, or they're called this here and everything. That they were definitely laying the groundworks for some weird stuff.
Yeah.
But most of this issue is action and chasing and destruction, and I know they touted like John Romita draws like Spider-Man getting beaten up like you've never seen. That doesn't happen as much in this one, but I could see where that is going to happen in the future issues, because Hellgate is a pretty scary character. But yeah, just wanted to bring this one up if you are enjoying the series. I'll say John Romita Jr.'s art on this one is not my favorite. Sometimes Hellgate comes across kind of like squatty and weird looking, but some of the bigger scenes of Spider-Man zipping through the city and stuff do look really good. So yeah, if you're enjoying Amazing Spider-Man, I feel like this is going to play a big part in this character, in some of the weirder stuff that's coming up in the future.
I think
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think that Hellgate does have something to do with that. I'm pretty sure that's what they said. I don't know how or why.
Spider-Man is the Steel Silk or whatever.
Maybe.
So yeah, here is your A cover. We also had this doily variant with Black Cat, who is in this issue quite a bit. Yeah. And I love seeing Black Cat, and we do know she's also getting a spin-off series coming up where she's basically playing the hero. And yeah, that looks really cool. We've got this beautiful Libermejo cover. I ordered this one.
Yeah, that's one I got.
Love this cover. We also have a Romero. This is one of your Retrovision variants. And we have this 1 in 25 Simone Bianchi variant we're selling for. This is 1 in 25. We're selling for $14.99.
Well, kind of staying along those lines, I've got all new Venom number 8. In this one, Rick Jones has been captured by Doc Ock, who wants to dissect his brain to learn more about the human symbiote interface.
I do like this version of Doc Ock. That is, he's very classic, just mad scientist. Doc Ock.
Absolutely. So Sleeper, who is the symbiote that Rick Jones was bonded with, actually manages to get a telepathic call out to Dylan, Brock, and also Venom to say, hey, come to whatever island it was, North something island right now. Um, but before Venom can do that, Venom has to deal with the Scar agents that they were fighting in the previous issue first. And that's pretty much the gist of this issue. We do get a pretty cool Venom and Doc Ock fight, which I thought was really cool. It's cool to see them together. And I made a note. There's another really funny Venom shape in this too.
Oh yeah, it's basically like, why hasn't anyone else used this? And they address why maybe that Venom hasn't been as malleable in the past.
Yeah, because all through the series, there has been funny like Venom shapes. Like he has a big round head when he swallows a bomb or something. But yeah, they actually do address why you've never seen Venom do this kind of thing before. And I was like, thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's really fun. I mean, Carlos Gomez's art in this is phenomenal, and all the scenes like that are really fun. Like you said, that Venom Doc Ock fight is really cool, and what Venom does to kind of one up Doc Ock in it is really funny.
Yeah.
I thought this was like, for this book that's like, oh, Mary Jane is Venom and stuff, just like a really solid. It's like a really solid kind of. It almost feels more like a Spider-Man book than a Venom book. The way that Venom acts in this is pretty heroic and everything, and I thought it was really cool.
Yep. So there is your A cover. And we have this really nice Fan Yang variant with Mary Jane. Is the symbiote on there anywhere? Oh, she's wearing it. Yeah, she's wearing the symbiote. This is our Koblish Retrovision variant. And that actually does kind of happen. Your Venom and your Doc Ock there.
Although it's the new Venom who has his little detachable arms that are little like goo.
Oh, the new Doc Ock?
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have the dials on his things anymore.
Yeah, he's got the little goo people.
And this is the 1 in 25 Ivan Shavrin variant that we're selling for $24.99.
I'll say, like, I don't like love Mary Jane being Venom. Like, just, I wouldn't want this to be a long-term thing.
Yeah, it's fun for now.
But right now, it is really fun, and I love another book that's centered around Mary Jane because she's such an awesome character. Okay, next up, I've got Star Wars Jedi Knights number 5. This is really cool, especially if you've watched the Star Wars Tales of the Jedi series, because this heavily focuses on Yaddle. And if you know that series, Count Dooku is the one who kills Yaddle, that we learn from there, like what the final fate of Yaddle was. And that scene is in this book, which is pretty crazy that we saw it in like animation and then it's here. And it's mostly to highlight like, but wait, let's see what their relationship was in the past. So in this, Yaddle and Sierra Longa have been sent to mitigate a dispute between the Trade Federation and a corporation. And it's very like mundane, like it's supposed to seem like the Jedi are a little OP for this kind of situation. Because Sierra Longa is like, oh, I like to mitigate things. And Yaddle's like, oh, really? Like, you're the only one who likes this. But, of course, the Trade Federation has taken one of this corporation ship as escrow for, their dealings and everything. And basically, neither of them will budge on, like, giving up the ship or them paying the Trade Federation what they want. But Yaddle has, like, I just think something's up with this. One, that they're not willing to budge. Also, they didn't tell us what was in that ship. Let's actually go and check it out. And then what they end up finding there is definitely throws this whole thing in a different direction. And that apparently the Trade Federation has hired Count Dooku to guard this.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, Count Dooku is no longer a Jedi. He's left the Jedi Order, but he's not the Count Dooku, the villain that we know. He's he was allowed to keep his lightsaber. He's friendly with the Jedi, even though he's not one of them.
He's kind of like Baylan Skoll from
he's
from Ahsoka.
Yeah, but a nicer person at this point. At least he seems to be. But he's one of the few who ever left the Jedi Order. But he's still on speaking terms with him and everything. So it's not crazy for them to team up with Dooku in this. But you do see, why is Dooku working with some shady people? And, we get an early glimpse at maybe what's to come. This is great. Once again, a one and done issue. with great like big full page spreads in this. A lot of really really good action. Some surprising like villains pop up in this. Just really fun. I think this is one of the best Star Wars books coming out right now, if not the best. So highly recommend Star Wars Jedi Knights. Especially, I love this format of one and done stories that spotlight tons of different characters. We've been through so many so far, and we're getting more coming up. So very fun. That is your A cover. We also have this Tau variant with Count Dooku. See, at this point, he doesn't have a red lightsaber; he still has a blue one because it hasn't been bled yet and corrupted. We also have our lightsaber variant they've been doing. I believe this is Torrin Clark with Ayla Sakura on this. She does not appear in the issue. We have the Dan Jurgens variant, which is just seeing Dan Jurgens draw Star Wars is crazy and really cool. And then we also have this 1 in 25 Mike McCone variant we're selling for $19.99.
All right, my last one is Uncanny X-Men Prelude to a Future Past. So, this book is interesting. So, this is a collection. It's not like a single issue. This collects Uncanny X-Men number 141 and 142, which, if you know, is part 1 and 2 of Days of Future Past, one of the greatest X-Men stories of all time. But this also collects Uncanny X-Men number 140.5, which...
I don't think that's the number.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. So... It collects Uncanny X-Men 140.5, which is a prelude story to Days of Future Past that was previously only available in the Marvel-made Paragon collection, Chris Claremont hardcover that was released a few years ago. So the beginning of the book, the story in the beginning is a much more modern looking, because I want to say 2021. Okay. Salvador LaRocca did the art on that one. It's still written by Chris Claremont, but it's a pretty cool prelude story because it is about the X-Men saving Rachel Summers from Ahab, because she's been completely taken over with like all these nanites. And they rescue her from that captivity, which is good because, you know, Rachel is the one who sends Kitty's mind back in time in the original Days of Future Past story. So it's a really cool prelude. And then so you get that, plus you do get the 2 original Days of Future Past issues in here as well. Plus, there's something at the end, you know, like an afterword from Chris Claremont himself. There are some other covers in here. There are some script pages and things like that. So it's a really cool. If you're a big fan of Days of Future Past, this is actually a really cool book to get because it's all encompassing and has a lot of cool extra material as well. And it's only $7.99 for all of that as well. So the weird thing about this is that, and we checked every copy we had. We checked online, like images online. There's a pretty big misprint on this. It says Uncanny X-Men. I know it's blurry, but it says Uncanny X-Men number 104.5 instead of 140.5, and I guess they're just going to let it ride. I reached out to somebody at Marvel and didn't hear back. I contacted somebody else who has connections at Marvel about this, and we never heard back. There's been some scuttlebutt on some retailer forums about it, but other than that, like, Marvel hasn't really said anything about if they're going to recall this or whatever. But and I hate that the camera is blurry, but yeah, if you can see, it says 104.5 instead of 140.5
because the original is 141 and 142.
That's right.
Yeah, so it wouldn't make sense. It would be 30 something issues earlier.
Oh, it's definitely that's definitely an error because like in like the really small fine print at the end that always tells you what's collected, it says 140.5, and in the afterword from Chris Claremont, the heading talks about Uncanny X-Men number 140.5. But not on the cover. The cover has 104.5, so that's
not just the A cover.
Not just the A cover. The variant is also messed up. It has the wrong number on it as well. And again, we haven't heard anything from Marvel about not selling these on Wednesday. So you know, and this is your Galman variant as well. So that's really cool. It's not that big a deal. I mean, but it is kind of a shame because it's like this is a really nice collection for Days of Future Past fans because you get the original story, the prelude, a whole bunch of extra stuff, but the number is messed up. So I don't know if they're going to issue corrections for this or what. You know, goes without saying, it doesn't affect the story. It's still cool to read, but it's just a little bit weird that this got past everybody. Like it's even the image on the distributor website is wrong. Like it's wrong everywhere. On two different covers, and nobody caught it. It's a little bit weird, but
It's gonna stick in your craw if
a
you're
little
eating it
bit,
in a
right?
box and you want to put it numerically
Yeah.
before.
Well, and
40.
like I even record my own videos previewing some of these books. And when I was recording on a Friday night, I say the next is Uncanny X-Men number 104.5. And I sat there and looked at this for like a good 30 seconds, being like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. And so I had to start looking at things, and I started looking. I went and looked at the cover of number 104 to think, is this somehow related to that? Like it, but no, it's just wrong everywhere. So, but still a cool story. Days of Future Past and the Prelude and all that stuff. It's still really neat.
It's one of the must-read X-Men stories.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
God Loved Man Kills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are all like some of the like Dark Phoenix saga. Like, if you're gonna read X-Men, those are some of the key ones you got to do.
Yeah.
And this is a great way to do that.
Sure.
It's like
Yeah.
maybe one of the cheapest ways too.
Yeah.
Because usually it's collected in a much bigger thing.
Yeah, like it's been a while. I used to have a really skinny trade paperback of just those two issues. I traded it in
And
a
you
long time
rarely
ago.
do that anymore. That just collect 2 issues.
Yeah, but yeah, $8.
But a lot of those are very short stories.
Yeah, but for $8 you get one of the best stories of all time, plus a whole bunch of extra stuff too.
Yeah. Okay, 2 left for me. Just to quickly mention, we have Secret Six number 5. You can definitely tell this is about to wrap up the story. Although I'm very sad that Catman does not appear in this one, because in the previous issue, like the 2 teams got split up, or the team got split up into 2. And this one follows mainly what's going on with Dreamer and Jay and Deadshot. And this does begin with Dreamer having a pretty prolific dream about Jay that definitely is, bothersome to her and the others that are with her. Like Black Alice is also there, but Jonathan Kent is not there, and I feel like they may be, I could even see them setting up Jay now as maybe a enemy of
Yeah.
Jonathan or whoever, because he does some pretty horrible things in this that I don't know if he can come back from.
Yeah, there was a reason in the last issue they made John go away.
Yeah.
So that the thing that happens in this issue could happen.
Right.
And then the repercussions
And
of that when he comes back.
him or
right.
be right there.
Yep.
So we do get to see Amanda Waller. They do come face to face with Amanda Waller. What they do, I will not give it away. But, they've kind of had a decision to make about when we finally get to Amanda Waller, what are we going to do? And it looks like they are going to make a choice by the end of this one. I've really enjoyed this series. I think the art is great. I love Dreamer as a character. I think she's a really good protagonist, kind of our main person we're following in this. Of course, I love Catman. Catman is one of my favorite DC characters. One of my weird, everybody has their favorite C and D list characters.
Yeah.
I love Catman, although he wasn't in this one. Hopefully we see more of him in the next issue. Is this 6 issues, I think?
5 or 6. I'm not sure.
This is 5.
Yeah.
So
oh, this is 5. Maybe 6 then.
6.
Yeah.
I mean, they're right there at like a decision has to be made. But yeah, still really cool. I really like this series. I hope to see these characters in some form go off into something else, whether it's another Secret Six book or just keep Catman around. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him pop up in Batman again or something like that. But here is your A cover. And Nicole Maines is a great writer.
Yeah, she does a great job. Yeah.
Well, it's rare that we saw her work on a couple of different things, but with a co-writer.
Yeah.
And that makes sense that you would do that and then get kind of your sea legs for writing a comic.
Yeah.
But this is 100% her, and it's great, and the characters are great and great motivations. Here is the variant for that as well. That's really cool. Kind of an homage to Spider-Man.
I was going to say Kraven's Last Hunt homage inadvertently.
This is the Lee Eric's cover. And then I just briefly want to mention, but I did not get a chance to read it as in depth as I wanted. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe one last time, number 4, as Deadpool is collecting all these different superpowers, about to go up against a big foe in this one. Just want to mention it came out because I've enjoyed the series so far. I think maybe there's, what is this, issue number 4? I can't remember if this is 5 or 6 issues, but it does look like it's leading towards the big final confrontation. And that's the only cover I have for this one as well. And that is it for our early comics review video. Thank you so much for watching. It's another great week of comics, so can't wait for everyone to dig into all of these. Captain America, of course, Gotham City Sirens, Godzilla versus Thor, Absolute Green Lantern. I mean, it is another great week for comics. I feel like we're in a space now where
I'm just gonna put this here because it's so awesome.
I feel like we're in a place now where the companies kind of know, like, hey, we're gonna have like a, one of our A tier books come out every week,
Yeah.
or a number one to keep people excited. And I just think we are in a great time for comics, and I hope everyone else is enjoying it as well. Again, head over to infinityflux.net right now where you can order these books. They are live right now, so go ahead and order them so you don't have to worry about them selling out. By Wednesday, you will be all set and ready to go when they are officially released on Wednesday, and they're shipped out then and everything. And stay tuned for all of our other shows coming up.
Yep.
We've got our show coming up on Wednesday. We'll be going over early comics you can pre-order. And then Friday, where it's the bigger version of that show with the variants and all that other good stuff. It is a big week for books coming up then as well. I've already previewed a little bit, and there's some ones you don't want to miss out. I think we're getting, I think Black Cat #1 might be on that one, and a couple others. So don't miss out on that video coming up on Wednesday and then Friday. Let us know in the comments which of these you're most excited to read. We'd love to see that and talk with you about how much we love comics as well. Make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, see ya.